Recently, I reviewed the Netflix documentary called Making a Murderer, and since then it's gotten a lot of attention, way more than I had anticipated. At the time, it was a brand new documentary that wasn't getting much attention, but since then, wow, it's blown up a lot. Since then, my own video has received a lot of comments, and I wanted to kind of comment on some of those comments, as well as some of the remarks that I've seen people talk about in the news itself. And just a heads up, in case you have not kind of gotten the hint yet, this will contain spoilers that are talked about throughout the documentary, so yeah, if you don't want to see that, then now's your time to go away. Now, in my video, I made a remark about the courtroom footage and how I felt it went on and on and on and on. And I still stand by what I said in that video. I still do feel like the courtroom footage went on and on and on. I feel like it was extended, but I think I know why I felt that way. And I think the reason for that was because once the courtroom footage hit, it was a very different feeling from the rest of the documentary. So the pacing changed up a lot, and I was not really prepared for that pacing. I can understand why people liked it. I can understand that it was pertinent to the story. Just for me, I feel like it was too much of a change in pace over too long of a period of time for me personally. But with that said, I did not skip any of it, and I did watch all of it. So a lot of people say that it was the most interesting part to them. It was interesting, but overall, I preferred the pacing of the other footage around the courtroom footage itself. But to my defense, I did have to sit there and watch King Kratz run his mouth for hours on end, so that was kind of like punishment in itself. Something else that I keep saying over and over and over again is the fact that people are saying that Steven Avery must be guilty, or they're associating his guilt to his cat burning incident when he was younger. And yes, he did do some animal torture when he was younger by lighting a cat on fire or whatever. I don't condone that in any capacity. And even Steven Avery himself, he even admitted in the documentary that he did some stuff when he was younger that it was a mistake and that he regrets. But I think it's just absurd that all these super duper animal rights activists are coming out and they're saying, like, keep him in jail, and, you know how the internet is. People are probably calling for his death sentence and all this other stuff just because of something that he did to a cat when he was younger. Yes, he had some incidents and run-ins with the law when he was younger, but that's completely separate from, the thing that he was most recently convicted of, which was the murder of Teresa Halbach. It's completely different. It's completely separate from that case. And these events are literally separated by decades. So I think the fact that he's still having a finger pointed at him or they should do it like a politician. He's having a finger pointed at him is just ridiculous. Yes, he made a mistake in the past. It's not connected to this case. It just needs to be dropped. Something else that's happened since I made my review, and obviously since the documentary's come out, is that Steven Avery's ex-girlfriend, or maybe it's his ex-fiancée, I forget, but the woman that he used to be with, and it was in the documentary, has actually come out against him now, saying that he used to be violent, that he once threatened to throw a hairdryer into the bathtub, and said that he would get away with it. I think she even went on Nancy Grace, and I'm not really a huge Nancy Grace fan, if you can't tell, and I found that very strange because here's a woman that, in the documentary, was going out of her way to communicate with him in any way she possibly could. And she was basically, swearing to be with him until the end and all of this stuff, and then she just kind of disappeared. And now here it is with the documentary's come out, and now she is suddenly saying that the person that she was in the documentary was not the real her, that she was lying in the documentary. And to that I would say, well, how do I know if you're lying in the documentary or if you're lying now? Because it seems very strange. Something is just not adding up. I personally am of the mindset that she's probably lying now, but I don't really know if she's lying now or she's lying in the documentary, because it just seems like two completely different people are inhabiting the same body and saying two completely different stories, and it's very strange to me. Now, none of us really know for a fact if Steven Avery is guilty or innocent, but I personally lean toward the side that he's probably innocent. I obviously don't know that for a fact, but the fact that the key was not found until the 7th or 8th day or run-through or whatever it was, the fact that there's just a lot of different facts. The blood vial was one thing, even though since the documentary's come out, there's been other reports and updates saying that that's how the blood gets in the vial in the first place, is that they have to puncture the vial to get the blood in there. And to me, it seems like there would be other ways to get it in there. But even if that is true, even if that is the way that they do get the blood into the vial and all of that, that just makes it that much easier to say that the puncture was already there, and that makes it that much easier for somebody else to go back in and put a needle through the exact same hole and redo it all over again. I also don't understand why the evidence was punctured. I don't understand why that was punctured at all. There should be some record of it if it was broken into or if it was unsealed. But I don't recall seeing any of that in the documentary. So there was a big red flag for me, and I know for many others as well. On top of that, since the documentary has come out, I've seen different interviews with Dean Strang, who was Stephen Avery's former attorney, saying that, basically, I think what most people are saying, that he's, not really convinced completely either way that he's guilty or innocent, but that he's definitely not convinced of, of the fact that he's guilty. And he's not willing to throw somebody away like that on a maybe chance, which, seems, I like the fact that he's not coming out in heavy defense of Stephen Avery. Like, he is defending him still, but he's not saying, like, I know I'm right. And I like the fact that he's kind of being objective, even though he was put in the position that he was put in the documentary of proving his innocence. One more thing I want to add is that the person I probably feel the most sorry for in this whole incident is probably Brendan Dassey. Brendan Dassey definitely got the short end of the stick. He was coerced into a confession. The evidence does not even add up to what he said, and it's very sad to see someone who is obviously of lower intelligence be manipulated in this way by prosecutors who were only interested in getting a guilty verdict and not justice. So anyway, those are the main points that I wanted to touch on since my reviews come out. I'm sure that I'll think of more after this video is done, but I can only include so much in one video, so with that said, let me know of your thoughts, including what I said in my review, in addition to any upcoming evidence that comes out after this video is released. And that is basically my thoughts on it. So with that said, thank you very much for watching. And if you are into movie reviews and documentary reviews in general, then I have a link in this video's description to my movie review channel. I'm starting that up again, and you can go check that out if you wish. With that said, thanks for watching, and I will see you again next time.